Hello, I'm coming to you this week with more of a currently reading update or a TBR update than a weekly reading wrap up. And I guess in my mind, the difference is normally I'm coming to you on Saturdays talking about the books that I've read, finished, and reviewing them. This week, I don't have any of those for you. So I'm going to be telling you about what I'm currently reading and what I'm anticipating I will be reading and talking about and finishing in the next few weeks. So pretty much for the remainder of September. So let me start with what I'm currently reading. Of course, I'm still working on Clarissa, reading the letters for this. Things are just getting so heartbreaking and sad, and I am just remembering what I really enjoy about this book. I'm also at this point pretty sure about the critiques I would have about this book, as well as just my own personal preferences in terms of the things that on this reread I'm liking the least about it. And it'll be interesting to see once I'm done how that may or may not impact my overall view of this book and whether I would ever reread this again. In brief, what I can tell you about what I'm liking about this book is the characterization. I think all the characters in here are really well done, sometimes to the extreme. There's only one that I would say is sort of static and maybe not that complex. No, I'd say he's complex. I think just maybe a bit static in terms of not a lot of character growth happening. Everybody else, I think there's been a lot of character growth and development, and I think Samuel Richardson has done a very good job of making very distinct individuals as being people who are players in the forefront. And I'm really in awe of how he's been able to create a voice for each of these characters. I do feel like quite a few of the letters in here, when they're written by different people, feel like different people writing. And so I'm enjoying that. My least favorite thing at this point is sort of all the side quest morality that he is trying to bring into this book. I know that's an important part of the theme, but at this point, he's got such a great plot line going on that I kind of wish he would stick to it. So that's sort of a brief book review of Clarissa. I will have a lot more to say about this book overall towards the end of the year when I finally finish it. But I am still reading and working on this. So I will put up on the screen about how many pages I should have left in reading for the September pages in Clarissa. The other book that I am currently reading is Little Dorrit. And I'm part of the way through this book. I'm about halfway through it at this point, and I feel like I'm currently in the middle of some really long, very slow moving books. And this is one of them. I was really excited to read Little Dorrit. I felt like it had been a minute since I had read some Charles Dickens, and I wanted to read some more. And I can already say halfway through, unless something amazing happens in the second half, this is not going to be one of my top favorites of Dickens. I'm just finding the story very, very slow going, even for Dickens. And this is one of those books that definitely, I feel like when people say that he's like overwritten or kind of goes on too much for their style, I definitely feel that way about this book, unfortunately. In fact, in all honesty, I have stopped reading this book physically and have switched completely to audiobook. And I might even go as far as to say, if it wasn't for the fact that I really do like Charles Dickens' writing and I really want to know what this whole book is about, I may have actually DNF'd it. Like, I can't help but think if this book was written by anybody else, I would have DNF'd it. If this was the first Charles Dickens I read, I don't know that I would have liked it. And there's nothing particularly wrong with it other than that I feel like the book could be a lot shorter. I'm not super into any of the subplotting that's going on in the book, which I feel like is being subplotted in odd ways. I don't even really feel like there's one strong overarching plot to the book, so I think I'm kind of missing that. And I just feel kind of okay about a lot of the characters. I feel like there is a romance that has happened in here that I'm just not believing. I just feel like it's a little too insta love, and I haven't had enough characterization of the love interest to really feel like it's a believable love interest. I don't know. So it's going okay. It's going better now that I'm listening to the audiobook. I am listening to the Naxos version. And like I said, I'm halfway through it. And I do feel like I will be able to finish it. It is the unabridged version. This is what it looks like on my phone. There you go. and it is read by Anton Lesser. And I really like Naxos's classics. I appreciate the fact that they're unabridged, and I have like sort of read them in tandem to see if they are abridging, and I feel like they do stick pretty close to the text that I have. So that's my plan with Little Dorrit. I do think I will be able to finish that easily by the end of the month. Right now, I have about, I think, 16 hours left. So, and I'm listening to it on about 1.5, 2 times speed. So if I listen to like half an hour to an hour of that each day, I'll be done with that by the end of the month, which is good because I'm ready to be over it. And I don't really want to listen to much more of it than that per day. A book I am loving and enjoying, but is another long, slow read, is Of Human Bondage. And this is my first book that I've ever read by this author. I will definitely read more of their writing. I really want this to be a 5 star. I don't think it's going to get there just because I don't think the writing is as good as I'd want it to be. But I have heard there are other books by this author that people like better. So that's very encouraging because that's really the only thing right now that's holding it back from being a 5 star read for me. I'm about, I guess, halfway through this book as well. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this coming of age story following Philip through his really tense situations that he's going through. But I think even more than following Philip, I'm also enjoying the way the author here is talking about like their concept of what it means to come of age and just that idea of your eyes being open, the rose tinted glasses kind of falling off, and you're coming to see the world as it really is. I think it's a kind of pessimistic view, but it's a really well explored one. And I like exploring other people's ideas and concepts of life and living in it. And I think it's being so well done in this book. It reminds me of the way Tolstoy writes, where he'll kind of share an idea or thought, and then he'll have his characters live them out on the page for you. And that is definitely happening in this book. I am annotating it, and I can definitely see myself as of right now wanting to reread this at some point, and I definitely want to see the films. So this is one that I'm taking my time. A lot of days I'm only getting through 50 pages of it because it is pretty dense. I'm annotating it. It's going a little slower, and I'm okay with that. But I think I should be able to finish this probably in the next like 5 days or so. Um, yeah, and like the next week, I think I should finish this. So that leaves me some time to squeeze in a couple more books, which is pretty crucial because I have a couple of books that I do need to finish by the end of September. So the first one, which will be the next book I pick up after Of Human Bondage, will be The Mars House by Natasha Pulley. This is a book that I recently picked up because I decided to join the local book club at my local bookstore. And you can see that I picked up their little flyer that says book clubs. I'm joining the science fiction and fantasy one. This is the same bookstore that earlier this year I tried out their weird fiction book club, which I do really enjoy. But for some reason, I frequently couldn't make the nights that they meet at. So I went back to the bookstore. I looked at the selections because they put about like 4 or 5 months of worths of books out at the same time for like all 4 or 5 of their book clubs so that you can see what they plan on reading over the next couple of months. And I was initially thinking about jumping back and forth between the two book clubs, but when I looked at the one for science fiction and fantasy, I realized they, by the way, tend to lean more science fiction than fantasy. But I realized that on their list, there were more books in that one that I wanted to read in the other one. Now, there's no commitment. You can show up to whichever ones you want. I'm going to try and make their September book club meeting, which is sooner than later. You guys are going to be seeing this on the 13th. The book club meets on the 24th. Now, fortunately for me, this is being filmed ahead of time, so I have more time than that to read this book. But I do need to get it done soon. So I will be reading The Mars House. This will be my first Natasha Pulley. There is another work of hers that I've been very interested in reading, but just have not picked it up. What is it? The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. And I know that is a series. That may be partially why I haven't picked it up. But I also think The Kingdoms, if I recall correctly, might be another book of hers that I've wanted to read. Either way, I felt like this was going to force me to pick up one of her books and give it a try and hopefully introduce me to a new author that I will like. I do like the concepts and premises of her books, so I feel like this is a promising one. So what is this about? Let's really find out together because I think this was the one on their list that I knew the least about. This is very quickly described as a queer sci-fi novel about a marriage of convenience between a Mars politician and an Earth refugee. Already, I'm interested in this. It takes place in the wake of an environmental catastrophe, and there is a refugee who is now living in the terraformed colony on Mars. The main protagonist, whose name is January, his life is dictated by his status as an Earth Stronger, which is a person whose body is not adjusted to the lower gravity and so poses a danger to those born on or naturalized to Mars. And it gets into the xenophobic politician who's living there, who's running on a platform that would make everything worse. And this politician, Aubrey Gale, wants all Earth Strongers to naturalize, a process that is disabling and sometimes deadly. And I just think, given the current climate here in the US, thinking about immigration, naturalization, and just all of those concepts and how xenophobia can come into play in all of that, I just think this is such a timely sci-fi to read. I love hard sci-fi. I'm not sure if this is hard sci-fi, but just based on the back, it sounds like it might be. And I know Natasha Pulley also tends to write a lot of fantasy, so I could see how this fits well into this book club. This is going to be the first book I read with them. I really hope I enjoy this book, and if nothing else, I always enjoy a good book discussion. This book is 469 pages long. I don't typically talk about page counts with my reading updates, but I am here because I am like running out of time this month. And so I thought it would be an interesting way of updating like how I'm doing on my TBR, which if you haven't noticed, most of these books weren't on my last TBR video. I don't know what to tell you about that. These just have to get read this month. That's what's going on there. The next book I need to read is People Like Us by Jason Mott. This is my new release for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. This is the pick for the month of September. No, it's not. This is the book for the month of August. I'm behind, but I have 60 days from the time this was published to finish it, which I believe means I need to finish it by like October 5th, something like that. I didn't get to it in August, clearly, and I need to get to it before September is over. And by the time you are seeing this, like, I'm running out of time. So hopefully I've read it by the time you guys see this video. We'll see. Um, anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. I was really excited to see that Jason Mott was coming out with another book. I read Hell of a Book, I believe, last year and absolutely loved that book. It might have been the year before. Either way, I loved that book. And I can't wait to read another book of his. This book is also about an author, but the premise sounds slightly different. It does seem to promise that there's going to be a mixture of reality and fiction in it, which was something that I enjoyed, the way he blurred those lines in Hell of a Book. I even love the fact that there's like the sticker on the cover of his book and it's squashing what is most likely our author. It says it's not a memoir, but I'm guessing it partially is in some way, sort of auto fiction. And I can't wait to read it. I'm also going to be buddy reading this with my friend Alex. And we do have some other reads we need to do, but based on timing, I'm thinking I'm probably going to need to read this one first. So hopefully she's okay with that. And that's 270 pages, so it should go relatively quickly, but when we do buddy reads, we only read 50 pages at a time. So probably what is going to happen is that once I finish Little Dorrit and/or Of Human Bondage, we'll start working on this. I just don't want there to be too many books that I'm having to read like chunks of each day. I guess Little Dorrit would be okay because that's an audiobook, so I could do this and something else. I don't know. I'm about to like start a whole bunch of books, is basically what I'm telling you. And then the next buddy read that I have with Alex, which I won't start until after this is done, is going to be for my high school required reading challenge, and that will be The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. So this will be coming up somewhere in there, but you can count on it not coming up until after I finish this, since we don't buddy read two books at the same time. So I guess they'll go in that order. I mentioned earlier that for the Hardest Reading Challenge 2.0, I need to do a new release each month. And I was telling you that people like us was the September pick. It's not. So I'll put up on the screen what the two books are I'm thinking of September. I've got a couple of different choices that I'm keeping my eye on, but basically my plan is to just go into my local bookstore every Tuesday, which is when they put out the new releases. And I'm going to do that every Tuesday in September until I find a new release on the shelf that I want to read. But I have done a video about the ones that I'm anticipating wanting to read, and that should be out in September, but release dates get moved. So I'm just going to like go by what is actually there. I don't want to wait or search around, and I'm not at the point where I feel like I want to read any of these books enough to pre-order. So the ones on the screen are the ones that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, and if I can find it, I'll put the current publication date up. But if I find something before them or instead of them, I will update you and let you know what I actually end up choosing. Like, these will probably be done by the time you see this video. If you really want to keep up to date with what I am actually reading, you could join me over on the Storygraph, where you'll be able to, we'll be able to become friends and you'll always be able to see what I'm currently reading. Or you can always join me on Mondays. I do all-day reading sprints, and during those, I always share what I'm currently reading. I should probably try to get back to doing shorts. I was doing shorts for a short while, and updating on there what I was currently reading. So I might go back to doing that because I do like you to know like what I'm actually reading in real time, as opposed to like the super delayed version that you get here in the weekly reading wrap ups. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I got kind of chatty, but I did want to share with you kind of where I'm at in my reading at this time and what's going on, and a little bit of my thoughts on the sort of slower, longer, chunkier reads that I'm currently doing. How did I end up with these three books all at the same time? I don't know, but there it is. Anyway, let me know how your reading week is going, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.